Hello, this is Mike with mikesgoodstuff.com. It is a website where I talk about good stuff because complaining about bad stuff is honestly bad for your health. And I've already given or talked about an article, or I've already given an article about the Windows 10 technical preview, specifically build 9841, which is the first public preview available. But as I promised, I decided I would be providing you with updates as this build progressed and as new features were added. The main reason I wanted to do that is because, well, this is actually the most early build of Windows we've ever gotten publicly. Obviously, there have been tons of builds that have been released over the years, way before Microsoft ever intended them to. They were just leaked over the internet or whatever. But this is the first publicly available preview that we've gotten in a very alpha stage. As a result of that, I don't really recommend running this on a primary machine. So if you've only got one machine that you use, one Windows-based machine, that pretty much means that you should probably be looking at my coverage or someone else's coverage to figure out what new is coming to Windows. You can, of course, run this in a virtual machine. You can run it on a separate hard drive. That's only if you want to check it out. And honestly, there's as much as the improvements in this OS are impactful, and as much as the OS is actually fairly stable at this point, there's still a few bugs. There's still the possibility that they may release an update so big that it requires a full wipe, and that's never fun for an average user to deal with. So once again, I have this installed on a secondary computer of mine that I barely ever use. And I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, Mike, you know, get some balls and put it on a production machine." Yeah, but I don't feel like doing that. There's not. I don't necessarily need to have a main production machine have a technical preview on it. And besides, I have plenty of machines I can put this on and check this out. So anyway, I may put this in a virtual machine later on, but I'm not doing it right now. Now, that said, I like a lot of the stuff that they've added in the technical preview so far. If you want to learn more about what was in 9841, check out my videos or check out mikesgoodstuff.com, and my articles in there. But today we're going to be talking about the new build that Microsoft just released. I think Wednesday, either Tuesday or Wednesday is when they released it. And let's build 9860. There isn't a lot that they've added in here, but it's only been a couple weeks since the first technical preview came out, so the fact that they have added what they have added is nice. A lot of what they've added, though, isn't fully implemented yet. However, we do get to see what they're planning to throw in here, and that itself is exciting. So what I'm going to be talking about is less what's actually here and more what is potentially going to be here, and what it looks like so far. So first of all, I'll talk about the least exciting part of Windows 10 build 9860, which is that they've added a couple new animations to the operating system, to how windows open and close and minimize, maximize, and also how desktops move from, well, virtual desktop to virtual desktop. So the first thing that you will notice is the first time you ever open up something, it does that little, I don't know if you saw that, it's really quick. It's this kind of bounce thing. It just kind of like opens up like this size and then comes down a little bit. So this almost kind of does this little bounce thing like this, but you know, obviously appearing more three-dimensional than that. It's interesting, I guess. When you close it, it kind of disappears away. It just fades off in the distance. When you minimize, it kind of half brings it down, and then eventually, and then it just, so it almost looks like it just goes to here and then disappears. So just and then gone. They're not like to the level of macOS animations. I think macOS animations tend to be a little over the top. It is. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. I could really give a rat's patootie about these kind of window animations. I'm sure they'll tick a lot of people off. That's fine. Because there is a way to actually get rid of them. But before I get rid of them, I'm going to show you the part that I actually do like animation-wise. So, well, actually, let's just show you how to actually get rid of these animations, and I can show you why the other animation I'm going to talk about is so cool. So to get rid of these animations, all you need to do is, if you right-click on the Start menu, you get the what I like to call from the old XP days, God mode, which gives you a whole bunch of, well, frankly, your power user kind of options right in a quick window. By the way, if you don't know about this, this is fantastic. This is really the only way to use Windows 8 is to make sure that you know about this, because you get your basically programs menu, mobility center and power options, which are very similar stuff, event viewer, which is great for troubleshooting, system information, device manager. These are all incredibly useful tools that you absolutely need if you are doing any maintenance with your computer, anything other than just using Photoshop or something. This has everything right there, and also shut down right there. This is on Windows 8 too. This is not a Windows 10 feature, but you should definitely know about that. Just right click on the Start menu. Anyway, if you go here and you go to System, then you go to Advanced System Settings, and then under the Advanced tab, which you're already at, Performance Settings. And this second option here, Animate Windows when minimizing and maximizing, if you click on that, hit Apply, then it will get rid of those animations. So if you open up a window, poof, there, no animation. I do kind of like that. I agree with the detractors a little bit in that it is a lot cleaner that way. It doesn't seem to take as many CPU resources to run it. Now keep in mind that any resources it takes will be minimized by further improvements, typically performance enhancements and optimization. That's all done at the very end stage of NOS development, so it's yet another reason why this preview build is, unless you really want to try it out and make your opinion known, it's probably not a good idea for the layman to be running this build. So, with that said, I'm going to create a couple of virtual desktops and show you how those, working between those currently works. So, or with the previous build. So, if you go to the task view, or if you hit Windows Tab, you can add a new desktop. So, I'll add a couple here with my Halloween theme here. We'll add a couple applications up on here. Maybe. Modern apps tend to lag on this computer for some reason. This has nothing to do with Windows 10, it's just this computer sucks. Let's create an Internet Explorer tab here. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of desktops open with a bunch of meaningless garbage mostly, but it will illustrate the point. And right now, you know what desktops is which by what applications in there if you're using the task launcher. But one thing to notice is that you see how I talked about this in my other video, but you have this showing as being an active application. This is currently running in this desktop. This is running in a different desktop. and that's shown by having this kind of small slice of glass, I guess, underneath here to basically tell you that this is running in a different desktop. So currently, if you click on it, it'll just take you to the other desktop. There's very little visual cue to what's going on, though. It just looks like you just opened another application and everything else went away, minimized. Even if you, say, use the shortcut key, Control, Windows, right and left arrow, like I'm doing now, you'll go between desktops. But there's nothing to really tell you what's going on. Well, what they did with this animation is they actually gave you a visual cue. And I find that actually kind of nice. That's actually one visual cue I think is needed. Unfortunately, they do not separate these animations from each other. So currently the desktop switching animation is kept within this animate windows and minimizing maximizing option. So you have to choose. Do you want any animations or do you want no animations? I would imagine they'll probably separate that out eventually. At least I hope so. But because this is actually the same exact option that's in Windows 8 and Windows 7 right now. That's all right there anyway. So let's turn the animations back on, and you see, you already got some those animations back. So now, if we click on these icons down here for a different desktop, it'll slide us to the other desktop. And similarly, if you use Control, Windows, left, right, it'll swipe from desktop to desktop. Notice, once again, there is a little bit of lag in the modern apps loading right now. Using, well, animation or no, but it is nice having this as an option because it's actually a visual cue to tell you which desktop you're on if you're using multiple desktops. I actually kind of like that feature, and for that reason alone, I'll probably keep using the animations at the moment. I don't really care about these window animations. They don't really seem to lag anything all that much, so whatever. Just close things real quick, and we'll talk about the next feature. So the other thing you might notice fairly quickly when you check out this build is this right here. If you have a touchscreen device, you might see a keyboard right next to it, but this is not a touchscreen device. This is a laptop with no touchscreen, and so the keyboard's not there. But you have this thing floating here outside of your normal system icons. You click this, and you have some of your other icons. But yeah, there's this thing. If you click on it, this is a notification center, which is basically the same thing, or well, basically it does a similar thing to Windows Phone's Action Center. So this notification center will tell you about any any modern app notifications currently. I haven't noticed that any notifications or any pop-ups from the normal desktop apps go in here yet. That may change. I'm not really sure how they would code that because they currently don't have any notification tracker in the desktop that I'm aware of. But they certainly do have a way to track notifications that are coming from modern apps. Now the confusing thing though is that, so this is the Action Center with Windows 8 and Windows 7. And this is normally where you'd get a lot of your notifications, not necessarily for apps, but security notifications. For instance, they normally have a maintenance, troubleshooting, recovery stuff, just little things that they suggest that you do. It's unclear whether that's going to go in here. To me, it kind of makes sense to integrate them, but yeah. So the notification center is currently very bare, as you notice. It looks like someone just wrote this up in Notepad and threw it in the code. I'm hoping they clean it up a little bit before it comes to prime time. Yeah, there's no unlike the version of Windows Phone, there's no settings options that you can plug in here. Nothing super special there. It's pretty basic. Let me see if I can create a notification here. So just to show you what it looks like when you get a notification in here. This will pop up. Just shows you the app that there's a notification for, and tell you what happened. Specifically, I turned on and off my Wi-Fi and told to refresh, so it just pop up something here. This should show you notifications that are coming from apps that aren't right in front of you. So, obviously there to tell you about stuff that you wouldn't know otherwise. There'll be a little asterisk that pops up in the notification center here. It'll actually, interestingly enough, be the color of the app. So blue here, in the case of store, it'd be green. Music it'd be orange. It's actually kind of cool that they color coded that way. There are multiple apps that have the same color, but yeah. So you can click it to open the application. You can click the X to close, or you can hit the X here to clear all. There's no settings menu here, which I find is odd. It's something that would be nice to have. Once again, this is probably not the final UI. They'll probably clean this up and make it look a little bit better before the final build. However, you can change the notification settings. Actually, if you go to your start menu here and start typing in notifications, then you'll see notification settings that pop up. In addition, there's some apps that are in there, apparently. You can also go to your mobile PC settings, and then you go to search and apps, and then this new section here, notifications, is there. And this allows you to actually change your settings. Quiet hours. This is something directly from Windows Phone that pops up. When you turn this on, you can tell it from and to, and basically it will not notify you of anything. And it won't notify you of anything during that time period. So if you're wanting to sleep peacefully without having, blinking lights and alarms and whatever going off, then you can do that, and it will shut up until you tell it otherwise. And you can still receive calls during quiet hours, or not, either way. And then you can go in and micromanage the particular apps that will show notifications. And one thing to notice is that, other than Internet Explorer, which I'm not really sure what notifications would pop up from that, everything here is a mobile app. There aren't, I believe Office, the desktop Office program does do some notifications and stuff like that, but I don't believe there's any third-party desktop app support for notifications at the moment. So the notification center is mainly just relegated to Microsoft applications and mobile apps at the moment, but that might change. If Windows 10 gains popularity, you might see some updated desktop apps, but personally I think desktop apps are kind of going the way of the dodo anyway. There hasn't been a meaningful desktop app created in quite a long time, and for that matter, there hasn't really been a meaningful update to anything except, I don't know, maybe even like Photoshop. The updates are getting less and less impressive. But anyway, so that's cool. It's nice to have that. This is, I did recently notice that this is being called the Notifications and Action Center, so that seems to imply that both this and this will be combined one of these days, and maybe you'll get a notification center that has this kind of format, that has a whole bunch of stuff in here that filters your notifications. That would be kind of nice. So anyway, that's the notification center. So that's feature number 2. I did mention people with mobile PCs with cell connections, and that seems to be a major concern for this release. Not only because of Notification Center, but a couple other things. So, interestingly enough, a lot of this got added into the PC settings, which is the modern app version. I find that actually very interesting because, well, that makes it clear that this, well, this is staying, obviously, but so is this. Despite the amount of stuff that they've done to kind of devalue the modern environment with this release, they're still not getting rid of the modern variant of PC settings. I find that interesting. They're also not taking everything from Control Panel and shoving it into PC settings either. So anyway, let's go into the PC settings app. And everything looks pretty similar here. You know, I got your personalize, got OneDrive in here. Search and apps, that's what I just told you about. But you've got a couple new things. DataSense and Battery Saver. These are both features that came directly from Windows Phone as well. They're not quite as fully featured as the Windows Phone variants, but I don't see any reason why they won't be eventually, especially if this operating system is going to be one operating system for all of those, of all the form factors, and just different UIs. So this is DataSense. There's not a lot going on with it right now. I don't think it's fully implemented yet, but it is obviously designed for people who are on the go, who have laptops with cellular connections, running 4G, 3G, internet connections. It's designed to control and manage your data use. And to a certain extent, Wi-Fi, internet use as well. That's the part that really interests me the most. But let's go into some of the other stuff in DataSense first. So obviously you've got an overview with the amount of usage. If you go in this usage tab, this tells you, once again, same thing, but it shows you a by app comparison of the amount of internet usage that's being used. Right now, it's not fully implemented. It's not really working. It's not doing anything at this point. It's managed to see 666 megabytes of Wi-Fi usage for some reason, even though I've done a lot more internet access than that. So it's not tracking Internet Explorer, modern, or desktop for that matter. It's not really checking the mail app. It's basically not tied in to really anything at the moment. System services is here, but obviously there's no information there. So, like I said, not much is going on here, but the potential is huge because with the DataSense app on Windows Phone, which is clearly what this will be based off of, you do have micromanaging, or the ability to micromanage data use by app. And basically, you can allow each app to, or you can allow or deny each app to run in the background and also notify you of things. So that way, if there's a particularly troublesome app that causes you battery drain, you could just tell it to stop running at all in the background, and you can just use it when you want to. Particularly, I'm thinking of Facebook Messenger, which is a particular battery hog and internet hog. It's also nice to see. It'll be nice to see the internet usage by app when that does become available. But once again, currently not really working, but it's cool to see it there. And there's a lot of the features like that I'll be talking about here that just they don't work yet, but it's nice to see them there, and it's nice to see what they will eventually be. There's also a few settings in here, once again, not available, but I don't know if that's because this computer doesn't have a mobile internet connection other than Wi-Fi, like a 3G or 4G connection. For instance, restrict background data will basically turn off all background data whatsoever. When turned on, it's grayed out at the moment. Restrict background data while roaming. Well, obviously I'm not roaming ever. And then show total usage for device. Those are just interesting settings there. So that's DataSense. Let's go to Battery Saver for a second. Once again, another app that's not really enabled. It's not doing anything at the moment, but it's cool to see it there, and it'll be cool to see it fully implemented. Battery Saver is also on Windows Phone, and currently what it does is it tracks the amount of battery usage per app. So it's something that is very much there on Android, might be on iOS. I don't know if that is true or not, but it's definitely on Android. And a lot of these mobile platforms take advantage of that, and I'm surprised that there really hasn't been a full production desktop platform that has done this yet, that has really looked at battery life consumption per app and said, hey, this is your biggest battery consumption, maybe you should do something about it. And once again, you can also micromanage the stuff that goes on, like a background usage of or background or running in the background specifically with Battery Saver. You can enable and disable apps so that it saves your battery life. So it's nice to see this getting thrown in here, even if it doesn't do anything at the moment. Right now there's a little on-off switch here, but see what it's supposed to do is the symbol. There's supposed to be a symbol that appears next to the battery icon when it's on and to start just charging, which it certainly is. There's no icon here at all. Yeah, you can see how terrible this computer is. 49%. It's only got an hour. Anyway, but yeah, you just turn it on and off. It doesn't really do anything at the moment. Turn Battery Saver on when my battery gets below this percentage, which is 0% right now. This is a grayed out option. So once again, there's not much here, but it's cool to see that this is being thrown in, that we will have a Battery Saver mode with that kind of app micromanaging, similar to what we saw in the notification center. That's kind of exciting. So I guess one other thing I should talk about while I'm here is that well, if you want to get this update, well, first of all, if you want to get the preview and you haven't gotten it yet, you need to go to preview.microsoft.com, I believe. Let me make sure just to. No, preview.windows.com. That's what it is. So you'll go there, you'll sign up for a second, and you'll sign up with a Microsoft account, and then you'll get a download, and then you can put it on your computer or whatever you're going to put it on. Well, if you already have built 9841 and you're kind of confused about how to get this build, I would, oh, by the way, calendar notification, I have a little 8 o'clock writing time thing, so that's what popped up there. But you notice it was, I hope you notice it was purple, similar to the calendar color. Anyway, if you're confused about how to get this build, I don't blame you. They made it a little confusing, but that's just because they made a couple changes to the way that they're running these updates. You first need to run this was all, yeah, so you first need to install, I believe it's this update, you need to install an update, if anything, with Windows. So you have to run Windows Update, and that will essentially enable this section right here, which is called Preview Builds. It's an interesting new feature. So basically, this is where you find new preview builds. They're not running it necessarily through Windows Update, even if it is using the same backend, but they're using a different section here. And essentially, this is giving you the ability to automatically receive preview builds as they become available. You can choose either slow or fast. By the description, I would imagine that slow basically means you're going to be getting builds when they can be guaranteed for stability. So for instance, this is a fairly early build. There's not much features that they added that are fully implemented. So you might not have gotten this particular build that I'm playing with right now if you were set up with slow preview build option. If you get fast, then you get all the preview builds, and you get them as soon as they're available. And Microsoft will notify you saying, hey, there's a preview build, would you like to install it? And it may even auto-download it for you, which is nice. You can even choose this option here, which interestingly brings up an old school automatic maintenance option through Action Center, which basically creates a scheduled event to automatically run preview builds at a particular time. So if there's a particular time in the week that you don't do anything on your computer, you can just leave it open, then you can set that up, and if there was a preview build that was released that week, it will download it and update it for you automatically. You can also check manually for preview builds. The only disadvantage to this type of system is that the downloads can potentially be rather large, and they can take a while, and they tend to do that little, rotating circle thing, rather than actually telling you how long it's going to take or how much it's actually downloaded. So there's very little telling you what's actually going on as it's downloading the build. This particular build took me about an hour, and essentially what I did is I just set it up to download, and it downloaded and installed, and I just basically set my computer aside for a while and let it do its thing. But that's that. There's a couple of things that I wanted to show you as well. One of the more minimal, or one of the more muted improvements that they've made, which is actually very important in my opinion, but hasn't been covered a lot, and I only just became aware of it today. They added something kind of cool. You may be wondering if you know of this format. Hey, why has this guy got the Matroska test files on here? Yeah, these are MKV files. If you've ever downloaded any videos from the internet, torrented things or whatever, you know of MKV. It's an open source. I believe it's an open source format. But very popular with the open source community, very popular with torrent sites, very popular as a file type. I don't know enough about video file types to really tell you why it's popular, but it's everywhere. And honestly, it's annoying that you have to use a separate video player in order to run MKV files. A lot of you will be like, just download VLC. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, it's better than Windows Media Player. Okay, fine, sure. But what if you what if you don't have internet access to download? Or what if you're in my situation, where my primary computer, ironically enough, is actually a Surface 2, a Windows RT device, where I cannot actually download VLC, and VLC has taking forever to actually get their VLC app on Windows RT. And you know, there's other MKV players on the store for sure, but what if you just want that access through, you know, natively? Well, Microsoft has actually enabled it now. Although it's not, it's very early access, and it's still kind of buggy in a sort. I'll show you why in a second, but you can actually run MKV files through Windows Media Player, and that's incredible. That's a very big change for Microsoft. It is not one of their formats. It's not an official format. It is a community-based format, but it's popular, and honestly, a lot of other people, or a lot of other companies, competitors, are supporting it now, so why not? So anyway, what you have to do, if you double-click this, it still says, what? I don't know what this is. What are you trying to do here? Well, if you go to More Options, and you click Windows Media Player, and you can actually say, use this app for all MKV files, as I'm going to do now, to associate it. It'll open up, and you know, it'll still say, this is not recognized by Windows Media Player, and but the player may still be able to play it. This happens today in Windows Media Player, but typically it just drops out when you say yes and says, sorry, can't do it. But we'll just say, don't ask me again, and hit yes. Look at that. It's playing. Alright, I'm not going to make you watch this whole thing. This is a really dumb movie, but that's incredible. Windows Media Player actually supports MKV now. That's pretty cool. You know, it's still slow and it's still kind of buggy, but it does support it. And so as more builds become available, there will be more support for, or it'll be a lot more seamless, in other words. So that's cool. That is a pretty cool little feature. So, alright, what else? What else is it? Well, looking over my list, there's not much else. So, the only other thing that that's in here now that I can't really test out on a non-touch machine. They have actually made some improvements to the touch features. So, for instance, if you're in a desktop app and you tap a text bar, previously in Windows 8, which is really dumb, it wouldn't pop up the keyboard. Same with the desktop Internet Explorer. You'd have to hit the keyboard button down here in order to pop up the keyboard. That's changed. Now, hitting a text box in the desktop mode will actually trigger that. And also, when you're in a full screen mode in a modern app, let's see, I don't know if I'm going to be able to demonstrate all this well. Modern apps, for some reason, are kind of buggy on this machine. It's weird. Yeah. See, the thing is with this machine, it tends to like closing and restarting Explorer.exe, but it doesn't seem to restart the modern version of Explorer.exe. So, anyway, when if you're in a modern app and you're in full screen mode, some of these apps have this full screen mode that will hide the title bar, and it'll just be all full screen. If you swipe down from the top of the screen, it will show the title bar. for whatever, which will basically allow you to get to the close options here. That wasn't always possible, although what you'd typically do is just drag it down to the bottom to close it, but I guess it's something new they decided to add in there, which is, whatever. So some minor touchscreen improvements. Like I said, there's not a lot going on with this particular build. It's not a particularly exciting build, but the stuff they have added is interesting nonetheless. It's interesting to see where they're going with the notification center, and potentially the action center getting moved into there as well. Oh yeah, one other thing about the notification center that I should show you is that, so if you ever played with the notification area, you'll know that if you hit this customize here, you can show and hide applications that are running in the background. But one thing you might notice is that this notification center isn't there. But if you go to turn system icons on and off, it is there. Notice the keyboard is automatically turned off there, or the input indicator. So the notification center can also be turned off if you don't want it. So that's where you do that. But anyway, so it's interesting to see what they're doing there. It's interesting to see DataSense and Battery Saver coming, although not fully implemented yet. I'm actually kind of excited to see that kind of micromanaging that you can do with those apps. And furthermore, I love the fact that MKV is finally supported. Yay! That's actually my favorite feature in this build, because oh my god, it's annoying. And for that matter, I'm sorry guys, but VLC just, it doesn't cut it for me. I can't share easily from VLC to other devices. You can sort of use like DLNA and stuff like that, but it doesn't work like native Windows 8 type of stuff does. So I just would rather have Windows Media Player for that reason. So I'm super excited about MKV support in Windows 10. That's really exciting. But anyway, that's it. That's build 9860. When new builds become available, I will certainly let you know. There will be videos that pop up on this YouTube channel, and I will also have articles with embedded videos at mikesgoodstuff.com. So the best way to keep track of what's going on with this stuff is to keep an eye on mikesgoodstuff.com, and there you'll see all those updates, as well as everything else I talk about as far as good stuff is considered. I don't just talk about tech, I talk about food and restaurants and video games and movies and anything that I like, anything that I think is good, just to add a little positivity to the internet. Anyway, so keep an eye on that stuff. As new builds come available, I'll let you know, and I will do video reviews on them. And thank you